If you're looking to decide between the SpotOn Nova and the Halo Collar 5, and you're looking into some reviews and comparisons, you might run into something that's a little frustrating. Everyone's kind of coming to different conclusions about this. Choosing between which one is better doesn't seem like it's actually the right question to ask because, spoiler alert, they are both very good collars. The real question is, which one is going to work better for you in your situation? Now, SpotOn is betting everything on raw accuracy, more satellites, less drift, bigger antennas, whereas the Halo is betting on intelligence, faster updates, using AI-driven logic to determine what your dog is doing, and smarter, feedback logic. They're just two different philosophies, and they also have different limitations. So in this video, we're gonna talk through a few different things that are gonna matter when it comes to comparing these two collars. Right now, we're gonna leave out everything else that's on the market because this is about the cream of the crop here. The Halo 5 and the SpotOn Nova are two of the best out there. Let's put them head to head, see which one is going to work best for you. Now, if we get to the end of this video and you're looking to try one of these collars for yourself, head down to the description below. You will find exclusive discounts for both of these collars, so you can try it for yourself for a little less money up front. And full disclosure, that also helps support the channel, which we greatly appreciate. So let's dive in. Let's start with the thing that matters most, how each of these collars determine where your dog is at any given moment in time. Now, the Halo 5 collar offers 20 location updates per second, which is kind of wild. If you think about film is typically 24 frames per second, and that gives this illusion of movement. 20 updates per second, your collar is constantly recalculating where your dog is. So the result is essentially a real-time view of where they are and where they're going. Now, the SpotOn Nova, on the other hand, focuses on tracking 151 satellites using a dual band receiver. And so it's not just GPS, it's GPS plus GLONASS, Galileo, Beldeu, all pulling and feeding data into a system that is designed to lock onto as many sources as possible at once. And I'm not going to pretend like I knew what any of that meant more than 15 minutes ago when I first read it. I just saw it, thought it was a good piece of information to add in, and thought it would make me look smart. Under clear skies, on flat terrain, both of these collars work tremendously. However, once we start getting to more difficult terrain, maybe dense tree covers or some tall buildings, that's where these differences start to peak out. And we're going to talk about that when we talk about our independent testing a little later on. Here's where property size can eliminate one of these collars from contention for some people. So the Halo Collar 5's minimum fence area is about 900 square feet, or a lot that's roughly 30 feet by 40 feet. You compare that to the SpotOn Nova, which requires a minimum fence area of about 1/3 of an acre, or 14,500 square feet. So if you have a suburban yard, likely Halo is going to be your only option. On the flip side of that, for especially large lots, the SpotOn has no size limit. You can make barriers basically as large as you want them to be, while the Halo maxes out at around 1,200 square miles. Either way, your dog's got a lot of room to wander in that case. The fence creation is also completely different between these two collars. So the Halo 5 can actually auto-generate a boundary by pulling your property lines from publicly available mapping data, which works great, especially if your property happens to be, a rectangle. The SpotOn Nova, on the other hand, takes a different approach. You can either draw the boundary on a map on your phone, or you can walk the perimeter of your boundary with your phone, which honestly makes a much more fine-tuned enclosure, because every irregular edge, every weird corner, if you're working around a tree, you can walk it however you want and it will track it and create it for you. Now, obviously, the Halo's auto generation feature is a lot faster, but it's only as reliable as the mapping data that it's pulling from. GPS accuracy tells you where your dog is. Containment logic helps to decide what the collar does with that information. So the Halo Collar 5 doesn't just measure a dog's distance from the boundary, it can also determine which direction it's facing, whether it's headed towards or away from danger, and how fast they are moving. So say a dog heads into the warning zone and then immediately turns around, Halo won't escalate those tones because it recognizes that the dog is self-correcting. On the flip side, if it starts to head towards a boundary and does not stop, that's when Halo's escape-proof logic kicks in. Basically, the feedback escalates and it does not stop until the dog re-enters the safe zone. SpotOn doesn't have the same directional awareness or real-time escalation logic, but it focuses on consistent tiered feedback at every warning level and also eliminates the startup lag, which is a delay that a lot of collars have in between when they're turned on and when they're actually active. A lot of people have found that particularly fast dogs can sprint through a boundary before the system even wakes up and has time to react. So we stress tested both of these systems under dense tree cover so we can kind of see how each of these philosophies stack up in those conditions, and we'll talk about that a little later on. Cell coverage isn't universal, and both of these collars operate a little bit differently when it comes to areas with little to no service. SpotOn has a dedicated off-grid mode, which is designed specifically for remote locations where cell service is, very spotty or perhaps non-existent. In this mode, the collar keeps functioning as boundary and as a GPS fence using the stored fences on the collar and local GPS data. So the containment still works, but it won't send those live updates or alerts to your phone. But just know the containment's still in place and your dog is still safe. The Halo includes dedicated Wi-Fi and Bluetooth chips, and it uses Bluetooth-based beacons to manage boundaries indoors or in specific keep-away zones. Halo also features automatic network switching, so it can choose between, Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, and a variety of global cell providers to find the best service and signal available. Halo's beacons can also toggle into ignore fences mode, which creates kind of a portable safe zone where your dog doesn't get any fence feedback at all. If you live in a remote area with poor cell service, SpotOn's off-grid behavior is going to be a lot easier to predict and utilize. But if you need more flexibility for travel or just temporary zones, the Halo's beacon system is a little bit more adaptable. I'm just going to give a quick rundown of a few of the hardware differences between these two collars. The Halo Collar 5 delivers up to 48 hours of battery life on a 1-hour charge, which is incredibly impressive. The SpotOn Nova lasts for about 36 hours plus when it has tracking enabled, but it takes a little bit longer to charge, closer to 2 hours as opposed to 1. But frankly, I don't think battery life is going to be much of an issue depending on either collar you choose. Both collars are built to handle weather. The Halo 5 is IP67 waterproof rated and has been specifically tested for both swim and saltwater conditions. The SpotOn comes with 2 different lengths for their static correction nodes, depending on your dog's coat length, and it also includes a tester so you can ensure that they are working properly. The Halo Collar 5 comes with a perfect fit kit, which includes contact blanks and specialized tips, but doesn't include its own tester. Now the SpotOn also has little LED signal lights on the collar itself so that you can quickly see at a glance whether it's turned on and whether it's active. And the Halo Collar 5 specifies that it is for dogs older than 5 months and larger than 20 pounds. The Halo Collar 5 delivers 6 specific feedback types, including encouragement signals like a whistle and good dog or go home, plus Cesar Millan's signature sound. Halo's app has a built-in structured 5-step training program, which helps create associations with your dog between those audio cues and the boundaries. Halo also provides daily activity reports and health monitoring logs, plus there is face-to-face support with an in-house team of experts through the app should you need it. SpotOn's unique features lean a bit more technical. You have the ability to create custom voice commands for your dog that they will hear through the collar, as well as a vocal assist mode where the collar speaks to you certain status things like, GPS active, boundary approaching, that sort of thing. You also have the ability to create keep out zones within any sort of boundary. So that's great for things like gardens or pools or driveways or anywhere you don't want your dog within your own property. The SpotOn is designed and manufactured here in the US, specifically in New Hampshire, and the Nova also claims to have 4 times better cell reception in remote areas compared to the previous models. The Halo is more about building a comprehensive all-in-one training and monitoring ecosystem, whereas SpotOn is in effect creating a bulletproof containment system that is as flexible as possible. Now the moment you've all been waiting for. Pause for dramatic effect. It's the SpotOn versus Halo independent test results from under dense foliage. Woo! We're about putting things to the test here, and stress testing involves pushing things to, frankly, past their breaking point just to see how they react. And the difference did come out from under the trees. SpotOn held a much tighter accuracy with drift only between 3 to 6 feet, even when satellite visualization was compromised. Now, Halo did show more drift in those conditions, but its AI obstacle filtering feature did help reduce signal bounce around tall buildings and under dense foliage. So here's where the containment logic differences became measurable. So SpotOn delivered 100% consistent feedback in all of our testing across all 3 levels of warnings and correction. That's the initial warning tone, the follow-up warning tone, and then the final vibration correction. All 3 of those triggered every single time, regardless of what was overhead. Now, the Halo's final boundary correction always kicked in. That worked 100% of the time in our testing. However, intermediate warnings either failed to fire or double fired roughly 14% of the time under dense tree coverage. Now, that final correction did trigger every single time, but those intermediate warnings are really your safety buffer to help prevent things from going awry. So then you're putting a whole lot more on that final correction and having your dog realize, oh shoot, I need to go back with just the one final correction, as opposed to, hey, we're here. Hey, we're here. Hey, turn back. Is it fully detrimental enough for me to say I no longer recommend the Halo Collar 5? Absolutely not. But we're getting into the nitty gritty here. We're breaking down these differences, and one collar did this, one collar did that. That's what we're here to talk about. SpotOn also stood out in startup responsiveness. We tested this by turning on both collars and immediately walking towards the boundary. The SpotOn was ready within seconds, and there was a little bit of lag between when the Halo was turned on and when it was ready to actively contain your dog. I should say Halo's escape-proof logic was genuinely effective when the signal was strong. The escalation started, and it did not stop until the dog turned back, but it was more reliant on having a strong signal in order for that to work properly. If you're choosing Halo, my recommendation would just be to create your boundary a few feet smaller than you think you're gonna need it. That way, just in case one of those intermediate warnings does miss, you're still getting that final correction a few feet before your dog would theoretically be in any danger. So here's my final verdict. SpotOn is the choice for most people, in my opinion. Yes, it is a little bit more upfront, but you don't have to pay for a monthly subscription in order for the containment system to work. It is the most accurate collar on the market, and the warnings and the boundary corrections work every single time, regardless of terrain or cell service or dense tree coverage. So if you have a particular large property, or you are in a more remote area, or if you want to create those keep out zones within your boundary, SpotOn is going to be my recommendation for you. That being said, the Halo Collar 5 is an excellent choice, especially if you need that smaller fence size, if you have, a more typical suburban yard, or if you don't mind having a subscription. You do get a lower upfront cost on the collar itself. You're just gonna have to pay that month-to-month subscription in order to have the basic functions of the collar work. So pricing will eventually balance out, obviously, but it's just a different pricing model for a different company. But you get all the training, you get the activity and health updates, the real-time alerts, all of that rolled in. Again, it is a very good product. It just has its own uses, and I have my own preferences. What are your preferences? Go ahead and drop them in the comments below. If you have questions about either of these collars or GPS fence collars in general, hit the comments with those. We do try and respond to those when we get the chance. And again, discount links for both of these collars are in the description below. Save yourself some money and also help support the channel, because we really do appreciate it around here. And that's all we have for today. If you like these videos, please consider subscribing. It does help the channel to do so. And hopefully we'll see you in the next one.